Fear is the oldest enemy of progress. It tells us that the world is too big and we are too small. It whispers that the mountain ahead is too high, the storm too fierce, the road too long. Fear digs deep into your soul and convinces you that standing still is safer than moving forward. It chains your imagination, it weakens your resolve, and it blinds you to the possibility that things can change. And the cruelest thing about fear is that it always shows up when you are closest to something great. When the odds are against you, when you're standing at the edge of a breakthrough, fear becomes loudest. It tells you to give up, to go home, to stop believing. But hope is different. Hope has a softer voice, but it carries more power. Where fear paralyzes, hope energizes. Where fear closes doors, hope unlocks them. Hope doesn't deny the challenges in front of you. It sees them clearly and still tells you that you have a chance. It does not say the road is easy. It says the road is worth walking. Hope tells you to take that next step even when your legs are shaking. It tells you to keep climbing even when the mountain feels endless. And here's the truth. The people who win in life are not those who never feel fear. They are the ones who learn to listen to hope louder than they listen to fear. Think about every major turning point in history. If fear had won, no one would have stood up against injustice. If fear had won, no one would have dared to dream of flying or reaching the stars or building bridges across oceans. Every breakthrough was born because someone chose hope over fear. Fear said, it's impossible. Hope said, try anyway. Fear said, it's too dangerous. Hope said, it's worth the risk. And in the end, history remembered the hopeful, not the fearful. In your personal life, it is the same. When you face rejection, when your plans collapse, when the world feels stacked against you, fear will always be waiting at your door. It will remind you of every past mistake, every scar, every failure. But hope reminds you of your potential. It points you toward a future that hasn't been written yet. It gives you the courage to believe that your story is not over, that you still have a chapter left to write. Hope is more powerful than fear because it does not need certainty to survive. Fear requires evidence. It feeds on your doubts, your struggles, your failures. But hope needs only one small spark, one belief that tomorrow can be different. That spark can grow into a fire, and that fire can light up not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Fear isolates, hope unites. Fear weakens, hope strengthens. And when the odds are against you, when the voices of doubt are shouting in your ear, remember this hope is not naive, it is not weak, it is not blind. Hope is the quiet strength that refuses to let the darkness win. So the next time fear tells you to quit, remember that every step forward is an act of hope. Every time you refuse to give in, you prove that hope is stronger than fear. And in that moment, you are not just surviving, you are leading, you are inspiring, and you are proving to yourself and to the world that hope, even in the smallest measure, carries more power than the loudest fear. When we look back at the great turning points in human history, we don't see the names of the cynics who said it couldn't be done. We don't remember those who laughed at impossible dreams or mocked the ones who dared to stand alone. What we remember are the hopeful, the men and women who believed in something bigger than themselves, even when the odds were against them. They are the ones who carried humanity forward. Think about every movement that changed the course of history. Civil rights in America was not built on the backs of those who said, this is the way things have always been. It was carried by men and women who believed deep in their bones that justice could not wait. People marched into streets, risked their lives, endured violence, and still sang songs of freedom because hope was more powerful than fear. And because of their courage, doors opened for generations that followed. Think about the scientists and inventors who shaped the modern world. How many times did the Wright brothers fail before the first successful flight? How many rejections did Thomas Edison endure before he lit the world with his invention? Hope was their constant companion. Hope told them that one more attempt might be the one that changed everything. If history were written only by those who succeeded easily, it would be a thin book. But history is thick, rich, and inspiring because it is written by people who kept hoping, kept working, and kept pushing forward, even when failure was certain. The great leaders we admire were not always the strongest, the richest, or the most powerful. What they all shared was the conviction that tomorrow could be better than today. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years behind bars, but he walked out with hope instead of bitterness. Mahatma Gandhi stood against an empire not with weapons, but with hope in his heart and peace in his hands. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of a dream when his people lived a nightmare. Each of them carried hope not just for themselves, but for their nations and for the generations that would come after them. History shows us something simple yet profound. Hope is contagious. One hopeful act inspires another. One hopeful voice becomes a chorus. And soon, what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. That is how humanity has always moved forward. The hopeful bend the arc of history toward justice, toward progress, toward possibility. And the truth is, every one of us has a chance to be part of that story. You don't have to lead a nation or invent something revolutionary to leave a mark. You just have to believe that your actions matter. You just have to hold on to hope when it would be easier to give in, because the small choices of hopeful people, choosing kindness over cruelty, courage over silence, perseverance over surrender, are what slowly build the foundations of tomorrow's victories. So when you are tempted to think that your hope is too small, remember that history is not built on grand gestures alone. It is built on millions of small, steady acts of hope. The hopeful don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't sit back and wonder if the odds are in their favor. They simply believe, they act, and they keep moving forward. And in doing so, they write themselves in the story of humanity. That story is not complete without you. There's a misconception that hope is just wishful thinking, a kind of blind optimism that ignores the harsh realities of life. People sometimes dismiss hope as if believing in something better is a weakness. But the truth is, real hope is not blind at all. Real hope sees the obstacles clearly. It acknowledges the pain, the failures, the long odds. And yet, despite all that, it chooses to keep going. That choice, that defiance in the face of difficulty, is courage. Blind optimism tells you not to worry, that everything will somehow work itself out. But hope is different. Hope says, things will work out if I keep trying, if I keep fighting, if I don't let go. Hope doesn't ask you to ignore the storm. It asks you to walk through it with your eyes open, your heart steady, and your faith unshaken. It asks you to step into uncertainty and act, even when success is far from guaranteed. Every act of progress has required this kind of courageous hope. The pioneers who sailed across oceans did not know if land would be waiting for them. The astronauts who reached for the stars could not be sure of a safe return. The activists who faced down injustice had no guarantee of victory. What they all had was hope, not the fragile kind that breaks under pressure, but the resilient kind that turns fear into fuel. This kind of hope is not passive. It rolls up its sleeves and gets to work. It doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. It acts in the middle of chaos. It doesn't pray for miracles without effort. It creates miracles through persistence. Courageous hope is what allows you to get back up after being knocked down. It allows you to face criticism without losing your voice. It allows you to keep striving for a dream, even when nobody else believes in it. And make no mistake, living with this kind of hope takes strength. It's not easy to keep going when the world tells you to stop. It's not easy to hold on to faith when doors keep closing in your face. But hope, real hope, does not let rejection be the final word. It turns rejection into redirection. It transforms pain into purpose. It takes what was meant to break you and uses it to build you. So when you find yourself at the crossroads, unsure of whether to keep going or to give up, remember this: hope is not pretending the path will be smooth. It is believing that the destination is worth every rough step along the way. Hope is not about escaping reality. It is about facing reality with courage and daring to believe in a better one. When you're in the middle of hardship, it's easy to feel like your effort is wasted, like your struggle has no meaning. The nights are long, the pain is heavy, and the victories feel distant. But here's the truth: nothing is wasted. Every act of perseverance, every ounce of strength you summon, every tear you shed, it all plants seeds. Seeds that may not bloom today, but will grow tomorrow into victories you cannot yet see. Think about the parent who works long hours sacrificing comfort to give their children a chance at a better life. That struggle is planting seeds of opportunity, of dignity, of dreams. Think about the student who stays up late fighting against doubt, poverty, or disadvantage. Their hard work is planting seeds of knowledge, seeds that will sprout into doors opening in the future. Think about the activist who faces ridicule and rejection for standing up for what's right. Their courage is planting seeds of justice, which generations yet unborn will harvest. The beauty of hope is that it turns struggle into purpose. Without hope, pain is just pain. With hope, pain becomes preparation. Every trial, every setback, every failure becomes fertilizer for the seeds of tomorrow. And while you may not always see the results immediately, trust that they are growing underground, taking root, preparing to rise in their season. It's also important to remember that the seeds you plant are not just for yourself. Your courage today might be the reason someone else finds strength tomorrow. Your perseverance might inspire someone else to keep going. Just as those who came before you planted seeds you now benefit from, your struggle is creating opportunities for those who will follow. That is how hope multiplies. It spreads from one person to another across generations until it transforms entire communities. So do not despise the struggle. Do not believe the lie that your effort doesn't matter. Every step you take, every battle you endure, every moment you refuse to give up, you are planting something. And one day, whether in your life or in the lives of others, those seeds will grow into victories. Hope assures us of that. Defeat is something every one of us will face. No one wins all the time. No one's life is free of setbacks. The question is not whether you will fall, it is what you will do when you hit the ground. Without hope, defeat feels final. It feels like the end of the story. But with hope, defeat is not an ending. It is a turning point. It is fuel for determination, a spark for resilience, a teacher for the next chapter. Think of the great champions of any field, the athletes who lost championships before they became legends, the entrepreneurs who faced bankruptcy before they built empires, the leaders who faced crushing defeats at the ballot box before they changed nations. Their stories are not stories of unbroken victory. They are stories of hope turning defeat into determination. Hope reframes failure. It tells you that your loss is not wasted, that your scars are not shameful, that your mistakes are not final. It turns the pain of rejection into the strength to try again. It takes the weight of failure and transforms it into the wings of resilience. That is why so many of the most successful people will tell you their defeats were their greatest teachers. Because when hope enters defeat, determination is born. And this is the truth: you cannot avoid defeat, but you can decide what defeat will do to you. Will it break you, or will it build you? Will it silence you, or will it strengthen you? With hope, every fall is an opportunity to rise higher. With hope, every no is a redirection toward a better, wise. With hope, defeat becomes not the grave of your dreams, but the birthplace of your determination. Alone, hope can feel like a flickering candle, small, fragile, easy to snuff out. But when shared, hope becomes a wildfire. It spreads from one person to another, igniting strength, courage, and belief. Hope is never just about you. It is about all of us. It is the bond that ties individuals into communities and communities into nations. When a single person stands up with hope, they give permission for others to do the same. A hopeful teacher can inspire a whole classroom. A hopeful leader can lift an entire nation. And a hopeful community can transform the world. That is the contagious power of hope. History proves this. When people marched together for civil rights, it was not because every individual knew victory was guaranteed. It was because each of them carried hope, and their collective hope became unstoppable. When communities rebuild after disasters, it is hope that brings them together, neighbor helping neighbor, hand holding hand. Hope connects us because it reminds us we are not alone. It tells us that our struggles are shared, our dreams are shared, and our victories will be shared too. It bridges divides, it heals wounds, it creates unity. And in a world that so often feels fractured, hope is the glue that binds us back together. Hope is not something you stumble upon by accident. It is not something you wait to feel. Hope is a choice, and it is a choice you must make every single day. When you wake up in the morning, you can choose despair, or you can choose hope. You can choose to believe that yesterday's failures define you, or you can choose to believe that today is a new chance. Hope is not passive, it is an act of will. Some days, that choice will be easy. On days of joy, when things are going well, hope comes naturally. But the real test comes on the dark days, the days of rejection, of loneliness, of loss. Those are the days when hope feels hardest. And yet those are the days when hope matters most. Choosing hope in darkness is what gives you the strength to walk toward the light. Over time, choosing hope becomes a discipline. Like any habit, the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. And as it grows, hope shapes your life. It changes how you see challenges, how you face failures, how you treat others. It keeps you steady in storms and grateful in blessings. So remember, hope will not always arrive uninvited. Sometimes you must choose it even when you don't feel it. You must wake up and decide, I will believe again. That choice, repeated daily, is what transforms lives. And when enough of us make that choice, it transforms the world.